Keith Burns is going to lead our prayer, play with the pledge, Roxanne Turner, four-way test, and we have a special song. David Ellis and David Weiland will be leading us in song. If everybody would please stand.
Please pray with me. Our dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you this day and bow our heads and give thanks to you, recognizing you as the creator of everything there is. We thank you for sending your son Jesus to be our Savior. We prepare to celebrate his birth and give thanks to you for our Lord and Savior. So during this time, may we just rejoice in the Christmas spirit, enjoy each other, and help those around us, strangers, kin, friends, everyone to feel well, feel welcome, feel happy. We pray, Lord, that you'll bless this club and everyone in it. We pray to do your work, to be of service to you, and we just pray that you'll walk with us and lead us in your way. We give thanks to you and ask all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Flag of the United States of America. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in the things that we think, say, or do. Number one.
It is the truth.
Second.
It is fair to all concerned.
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Okay, you're not going to need your songbooks, but we'll ask you to join us on the chorus.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually,
This is
if
with
you
no
don't
practice,
know
by the way.
Yeah, we were supposed to practice this song, but we'll breeze through it. It's actually song 60. It's
Page 60.
Page 60. It's called Jingle Bells. All right.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits rise. What fun it is to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
One more time.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
We should do that every week. That was great.
Load up the bus.
July, too. I think our sergeant of arms should bring his guitar everywhere.
Yes. I think we've just nominated our song leader for eternity. Thank you.
Okay. In the meantime, let's see who's happy to be here. Dig out your wallet. Come on. All right.
I am very happy, and I have a request. So this Saturday, we're all ringing the bell. A bunch of us are ringing the bell for the Salvation Army at Walmart. And I am scheduled to ring the bell at 1 p.m. on the middle door. And my whole family's coming Saturday, and I'm cooking for them for Christmas because I gave them the choice of dates. So if anyone would love to go take my place at 1 o'clock, ringing the bell, I've never missed a ringing of the bell in all the years I've been in Rotary, and it's very sad for me. Or switch with me. I could love to do it at like 10 in the morning or something like that. So please let me know.
Okay, who else is happy to be here? Oh, Lonnie's got something going.
I have two things. Starting next Wednesday, the 18th, I think that's Wednesday, Friendly and I are launching friendlyradio.com. It is a streaming, 100% streaming radio station, and it will be 100% locally focused. Everything is local, local, local. That promotes all of the businesses, all of the events, the music that everybody wants to hear. It is, again, I'll say it again, 100% local. That's what we're focusing on. So we're really excited about that. You'll find out more about that as time goes on. But we found that most people don't listen to regular radios at their desks anymore. They're either listening on their computers or on their smartphones. So the future is streaming radio, and that's what we're doing. The second thing is, at the end of February, I am working with Hunt County Kids to do a disco night. It is a fundraiser. 100% of the money goes to Hunt County Kids. I am still looking for some sponsors. There's some people in this room. I'm not going to approach you here, but you can bet I'll be at your businesses to talk to you, because we do need some sponsors to put this thing together. It's going to be at the Convention Center, the Civic Center rather, and it's going to be a great night, February 22nd, but I'll talk to you more about that then. Thanks so much.
Very good, Lonnie. Larry? Lonnie, got something?
No, I'm just happy to.
Oh, you're just happy. All right, moving into that.
Happy to ring the bell.
Lori went on a cruise, vacation, and she didn't hit the ATM while she was gone.
All right, moving over here. Come on. You're just happy? Okay. All right. Anybody over here? Move around. David, got some green in his hand.
I'm just happy.
You're just happy. Okay. This is very happy. Happy, happy table. There we go. Oop. All right. Larry? All right. A lot of happy people, not too many talkers today. Here we go.
Well, I'm putting in $2. The first dollar is because I'm really looking forward to having all our Rotarians come to our house tomorrow for the party. The second dollar is how happy I'm going to be when it's all over with.
Okay, oh, here we go.
I got my own one.
Okay.
Okay, I'm putting in $2 because the first one is I am very happy that Medicare open enrollment is over and I can sleep. The second reason that I am happy today is I am happy that this year I had the opportunity to get to know several of the people at the hospital and develop a really good relationship with those individuals, and it has helped my business tremendously to have that relationship. So thank you, Rich. Well, thank you to all of your staff.
You're very welcome, thank you.
For developing that awesome relationship, and it has been a blessing.
Is that it? Keli Aiken is in the house, and she is going to draw for us today.
It's my lucky week, so somebody should be doing pretty well.
All right, say it.
Ticket number 230.
230. 230, who's got it?
4-2. Not me.
I got it.
All right.
I knew it must be mine, so I was busy.
Is that 2 weeks in a row, Ken?
No, I hadn't done it in a while. I've never won.
This deck is getting awful skinny.
Oh, good. Did I mention everybody's coming Saturday and I'm buying a prime rib? Oh,
Well,
right, Sue.
it was a spade,
Wrong
but
card.
it's 4. No good. Back to you, Katie.
Alrighty, I would now like to, well, we don't have any visiting Rotarians today, but we do have 2 Rotarians with guests. David Weiland, you have 2 guests, don't you?
Yes, I do. I've got Al and Tammy. Y'all stand up. Al and Tammy Schaefer, longtime friends of mine. They own All Town Builders. They build new houses. We've got a great arrangement. They build them, I sell them. Okay.
Welcome. Roz Lane, you have a guest.
Sandra Linson Bell, and she's a native of Greenville. She's also an Army veteran. She works in the DA's office, and she's also known as Byron Bell's mother.
Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. David Weiland, you would like to come up here and present somebody with some amazing stuff, right?
I sure would. I sure would. In the program following that.
Correct.
All righty, I always enjoy doing this. Michelle, would you come up, please? I just met Michelle this morning. She is with Rafa Clinic. Theresa Sadler had another engagement and could not come. She sent Michelle. Now, Michelle, due to the generosity of our board, we decided to award you your organization, $500 out of our budget. And you've seen that we've just been doing what we call Happy Bucks. The board decreed that 1 month that Rafa would get the benefit of the donations there. So when you add those two numbers together, you get $603. And that's what we're giving to the Rafa Clinic now. We're going to ask you to give us about 1 minute description of what you do and make us feel good about giving you this money, and you might get it again next year.
Okay, well, like you said, my name is Michelle Lee, and I'm the...
Here's your 1 minute spiel. She saves babies' lives.
I am the center director. I've been there about 4.5 years. So the thing that my dad did tell me, the 3 B's, you be precise, you be brief, and you be seated. So what I'm going to tell you is that Rafa is a nonprofit. I think Theresa told me in the last year and a half, we've served over 500 families in 27 counties. And I don't know if you guys realize, we don't advertise. So the majority of our referrals are from word of mouth. And so when they come in through our doors, my thing as the center director is to make sure that they feel loved and that they're not disrespected and that they're not looked down on. And when you see somebody come through those doors who feels defeated and you show them the love of Christ, you don't ever have to say a word. It's just, my dad would say, I'd rather see a sermon than hear one. Amen. So at Rafa, we try to be that sermon that they see when they come through those doors. We are not able to do any of the things that we do without the hands and the feet. We're God's hands and feet there. So that $603 will be multiplied because God says so. So thank you.
Very good, Michelle. Thank you so much. And it's time for our program now, and I'm going to ask one of our Rotarians, Judge Keli Aiken, to come up. She's going to give us I think her topic is going to be the jury system in Hunt County and how it helps her.
I don't even know if I need a mic, but today I have a little cough, so we'll use it. Before I start, let me tell you something, guys. When I said that Rafa saves babies' lives, I'm not joking. Okay? That's not being silly. That's not making fun of anything. I want you to understand, I send people there all the time in my court, and this lady right here saves babies' lives. And families, and restores people back to the whole person that they should be. So nothing any of us does in this room is as great as what they do. Yeah, with a lot of blessing, but nothing we do is as important. Okay. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is Sandra didn't get mentioned for being one heck of a DA's investigator, which she is, and a good friend. I appreciate her because I used to work with her a lot, and I still work with her now as a judge, but we used to be in the same office, so I have a lot of respect for her. So let's talk about jury service. Most exciting thing you guys ever talk about, right? Let me remind you that jury service protects everyone involved. Everyone. Jury service is not about giving up a couple days of your time, or sacrificing some time from work, or making your boss mad because you're not there, or missing time away from your students if you're a teacher. It's not about missing the opportunity to pick your child up from school that day because you're on jury service. That's not what jury service is about. It's not about the fact that you get paid almost nothing to be there. That's not what it's about. Jury service is about protecting all of the individuals involved. And I say all for a reason, right? Because it doesn't just involve the person on trial. It doesn't just involve their family. It doesn't just involve the victim and their family. What you should know about jury service is it involves everyone in our county. Every trial we have, every jury I select represents you and you and you. Every decision they make should be reflective of what you would have decided under those circumstances. That's why we select our random members of the community. That's why we have people from all age groups and backgrounds and criteria and thought processes and personal beliefs. Because that jury should be speaking for you. Now let's think about something else. When you guys hear that you're going to be called in for a jury selection on a case where a child is the victim and it's an aggravated sexual assault of a child, do you not want that jury to make a decision that you think is appropriate? One that you can live with? Because that child is a child who lives in your community. That child will go to your schools. That child, if they are severely traumatized, will receive resources from your pocket, from your taxpayer dollars. That child, if they are not properly protected and cared for, will grow up in an environment where maybe they re-victimize another one of your children. That child, if they are not properly taught and properly protected and properly given their opportunity for justice, may someday grow up to be the person on trial again. And once again, another jury would have to be selected to speak for you. All because the first time around, nobody bothered or cared enough to show up and stand up for you and your rights and the protection of that child. Jury service is not just something you hate to do. It's really important. If you don't believe children are our future, I invite every single one of you to come sit in CPS court this afternoon. I just was there all morning long. That's why I was late getting here today. And I'll be late every time I have CPS court, because our kids are the most important thing we have to invest in our lives. Other than our faith in God, other than our belief in our religion and our commitment to honor Him, our children are the next thing. Guys, the children are the ones who are going to grow up and support us. They're the ones who are going to grow up and provide for our community. They're the ones who someday will be standing here where I am, doing the job I'm doing and hopefully doing it better. The ones that are going to be our bankers and our lawyers and our teachers and our doctors and our baby savers. Your children. And I'm not talking about the kids who live in your home. I'm talking about when you walk out of here, if you walk 2 blocks to the left, the child playing in the front yard, that's your kid. That's your kid. If you travel down to Reese Davis this afternoon when school gets out and you see all the beautiful kids who run inside for their after-school care, those are your children. If you go over to the Boys and Girls Club this afternoon and you walk in the door and you see all these beautiful smiling faces who are getting their snack because when they go home they may not have food there, those are your children. If you drive over to Lamar or to the high school and see all of the children of the affluent and well-to-do kids who are in robotics or doing band or after-school athletics, those are your kids too. All of them. I need you to understand how important jury service is, because every time I call for a jury panel and I don't have enough jurors to do a trial, what's happening is we are not protecting our community and our children. Okay? Let me tell you another way you can protect your children. If you're in there for jury service and you hear a case and for some reason the state doesn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt like they're supposed to, and you honor our Constitution, our laws, and the rights of the individual, and you send that person home to his children, you're protecting that child, right? You're speaking up for them. And if you think that doesn't happen, that's not reality, people. I have acquittals. They're not all the time, but I do have them. You should be willing to sacrifice your time and energy for the one time, the one possibility that someone who might be innocent or proven not guilty gets to have their rights heard and their children protected too. This is not just about protecting victims. It's about protecting everybody. I hear all the time people who complain about the drug problem in our community, and it's a significant problem. Most of my cases involve drugs. In CPS court today, 95% or more involve drugs. Protecting children from parents because of drug use, drug abuse, committing crimes because they're using drugs, not providing for their children because they're using drugs. And who do you think pays for that? You guys. If you're worried about the drugs in our community and you get called for jury service, you should be sitting there thinking, I can't wait. This is my shot to do something about the problems in my community. This is my shot to stand up for our children, to stand up for our rights, and to stand up for the values of our community. And if you don't get selected for jury service when you go home, I hope that your prayer that evening is that whatever that jury decides would be what you would have decided. Right? Because they represent you. We call on average 500 people to jury service every 2 weeks in district court. Let me tell you how many show up. 120 or less. Those are 500 citizens who live in our county who either vote or have a driver's license or an ID card, because that's what they're calling them from. It's a voter registration, driver's license, ID card registration. It's a random system done by computer. I have no control or power over it. I don't even see the list until the day of jury service, right? So I don't know who's coming. They just show up. 120 to 125 out of 500. People in our community do not care about what's happening in that courtroom, because if they did, I'd have 500 people there, right? If they all cared, 500 people would show up. And I hesitate to tell you, maybe not, don't hesitate to tell you, if all 500 showed up, I think our system would do better. We'd have more cases moved. We'd have more cases resolved. We would have more justice for our citizens, for our children, for our community. You would feel better represented. Whether there's a conviction or an acquittal or a dismissal or a return of children to parents, or children adopted out and taken away from parents because of the circumstances. Whatever the outcome, it would always be more effective if I had enough people that cared to show up and be there. And what happens if the 125 people or 122 people who show up are simply people who think, you know, we just don't want to get a warrant for our arrest, so we're going to go to jury service, but we really don't care what happens? What happens when they get on my jury? What happens when they're checking their clock every 5 minutes because they want to leave? When they're having to listen to some little child get on the stand and talk about what daddy did to her and how they did it, a little 6-year-old who gets one chance to tell people how bad her life has been. And the person sitting in the jury box is thinking, you know, I really would like to be out of here. What happens then? Is she heard? Does anyone care? Is that jury going to render a verdict based on really what happened and what the evidence is? Or are they just wait until 5 so they can go home? If you've ever had a case where you've been a victim or your family member's been a victim, or even where someone in your family has been a defendant, don't you feel like they're entitled to a jury that cares? Please say yes, right? Everyone? Almost like an amen? Yes? That shouldn't even be a thought, okay? I've been on both sides of this, ladies and gentlemen. My brother was a long-time defendant in and out of prison. Drug dealer, every sentence he ever got was deserved, okay? Every sentence he ever got was deserved. But did I want him to have justice every single time? Yes. And I'm his sister. If they had called me out and testified against him, he was a drug dealer. I knew it. He was a drug user. I would have told the truth, but I wanted him to have justice. I wanted him to be heard and have people decide what should happen to him according to the facts and the evidence, which is what our system's built on. If we don't believe in that, we shouldn't be Americans. We shouldn't live here. If you don't believe in our jury system, you shouldn't live here, guys. Right? I lived in Germany. I grew up there. There are no Bill of Rights. You get stopped by a cop, you do exactly what they say no matter what it is. Because you don't want to go to jail and be away from your family. And they don't have lawyers that come and help you. And you don't get to go before judges and juries over there. Okay? I know what it's like to live in a place where those rights are not given. I don't want to live there. I want to live here. I'm proud to be part of this system. Proud enough that I'm willing to dedicate my life in service to honor this system. Because your rights matter. And your children matter. And our defendants matter. And their families matter. Okay? If you don't know what a defendant is, it's a person who's charged with a crime. They're still people. They don't become some crazy monster just because they're charged with a crime. They're still a person. There's still something about them that is potentially redeemable. And they have an opportunity to get to be heard and have people like you decide what happens to them. That's what our system is about. Right? All day long, I watch people who change their lives because of some intervention from a jury or from a judge or a probation officer or a CPS worker, and they come out the other side better off, more whole, better to make it in our society. Today, I let a lady, I signed off a probation sentence for her and let her off probation because she has done so incredibly well in her life. She has completely changed her life because of that probation. That she earned and deserved the right to be just like you and I. And we celebrated that this morning. Man, I couldn't even get up off the bench quick enough to hug her and tell her how proud I was. Our courtrooms are not just about, is it inconvenient for you to be there? So many amazing and beautiful moments happen in that courtroom, and you're going to miss it if you don't show up for jury duty. You're going to miss your voice in our community. Let me tell you, the people in Washington are not calling you to see what you think. Most often, they probably don't care. Let's be real. When they take you get your paycheck and they take 70% of it, and they go spend it on whatever, they don't really care what you think. But guess who really does care what you think? The people in that courtroom. We treat our jurors with the same respect and dignity that our judges have. Their time is valuable. It is well used. We do not waste it. They make very important, life-changing decisions that are hard and difficult. Sometimes my jurors have to see photographs that would shock you, okay? Autopsy photos, videos of people being hurt in horrible ways, crime scene videos, things they're not prepared for, because jurors are you. And you don't look at that stuff every day. We're taking them and we're bringing them in here to a job that I normally do with years and years of experience, and we're sitting them in a jury box and we're giving them all those facts, and they're looking at all those horrible photos and horrible videos, and they're hearing a story from the person on trial about what's happened, and they have to decide what to believe. It's a very hard job, very hard. I will not lie to you, it is incredibly hard. But 99% of my jurors, when they leave, despite the fact they didn't want to be there to begin with, as they're leaving, and when I talk to them, tell me thank you for talking them into it. Thank you for giving us the reality check that we needed to make us do it, because this is the best thing that I've done. I know that I've served my community. They walk out of there with pride, regardless of the outcome, y'all. Sometimes the outcome might be that they let somebody go because the state didn't prove their case, and they walk out my door with pride because they did the right thing and they know it. Sometimes it's a life sentence for a defendant who's very violent or dangerous, and they have to lock them up because they got no choice. And they walk out of my courtroom with pride because they did what they needed to do to protect our community. I can't give you a way to create that kind of a reward to you in any other facet of life other than your faith and belief in God. I think is the only other way. Or your seeing your children succeed, your individual children. I think you get that huge sense of purpose and gratitude from that, right? When your kid graduates high school or college or gets married or has a child. You have that moment of just, thank you for what beautiful blessings in my life, right? I think you have the same thing when you've had a jury trial that you've done, where you've invested so much of yourself in it, you've made the decision, and you walk out and know, I've done that. I've done my part. Right? I may never be the person who decides what law passes. I may never be the person who decides who gets to be the judge or, the one individual who makes that decision. But I made the individual decision with this jury today that determined the course of life for all these people involved. And I did the right thing. Right? There has to be glory in that. Not for you, for God, but there is a profound sense of glory in that you can't ignore. The reason I harp on jury service is because I see many people who are business professionals come in and do everything they can to get out of it. I see lots of moms come in and try to get out of it because they would rather be with their kids. I see lots of retirees get out of it because, they're retired and they're like, we've done our part. But I want you to think about this, even all the people who use an exemption or excuse to get out of jury service. Tomorrow, you could have someone in your family who needs the help of that justice system, whatever side it is, as a victim or as a defendant. And don't you want people who care to make the decision about what happens? And if you don't do it, who am I left with? That should scare you. For the sake of the people involved in our community, for the people who have been horribly injured in some way that we can never repay. That should terrify you. For the young defendants who make one mistake, and it's easy for a defendant who's young to make one mistake and wind up in felony court and be looking at the rest of their life in prison. It's easy, y'all. Don't think it's hard. It is easy. What about that guy? 17-year-old, facing up to life. Don't you want him to have a good hearing? Don't you want to know that if he gets a really serious prison sentence, that thoughtful individuals heard what happened and made a good decision about what should result? Or even better yet, if he committed some very violent offense where someone was seriously hurt, don't you want to know that thoughtful individuals considered whether or not he should go to prison or maybe get probation? Wouldn't you want that? And let me tell you guys, when they get you in there in jury service and they say, who says they can't be on a jury for a child sexual abuse case? And everybody raises their hand. Well, let me tell you, here's the question you should be asking. Who wants to be on a child sexual abuse case? Nobody. Nobody. Okay? But who has the obligation to be on one? Everybody. Everybody does. Okay? It's an obligation. So when they ask you, can you be fair or can you make a decision about a child sexual abuse case? I hear all the time people who say, I will never be fair in those cases. Well, don't ever say never to things. The older I get, the more I learn how wrong that is. Because let me tell you, I see child sexual abuse cases that come in where there are circumstances where a jury gives them the least amount of time, the least sentence. And when that happens, because of whatever crazy set of circumstances are involved, it's appropriate. Don't think that just because the crime is child sexual abuse, that it's the most serious, worst case ever, that the guy needs to go to prison forever or be shot or whatever. Don't think that. You don't know. That's why we're having a jury trial. If everybody knew that, I would have been asked to decide it. Okay? What if it is the worst case scenario? No one's ever going to just agree to that. Right? Someone who's done the worst thing ever, the most horrible thing to a child, is not going to walk in and say, yeah, give me a maximum sentence. No problem, Judge, thank you. They're going to want a jury trial. They're never going to get the sentence that that jury thinks is appropriate unless a jury hears it. Because if they ask for a jury trial, guess what, guys? I have to give them one. I have no ability to say, nope, too bad, so sad. You don't get one. Everybody gets a jury trial in felony criminal cases if they ask for it. Everybody. The capital murderer, the young 17-year-old who ran from the cops in his car because he got mad because he had a pot brownie in his pocket and he thought the cops would throw him in jail for it, so he went on a 100-mile chase through the county roads and wrecked out. That kid also gets one too. All right? Everybody gets one. No matter what the crime. Child sexual abuse, and I keep saying that because that's one of the ones that everybody runs away from. The death penalty, capital murder cases where somebody's life is literally on the line, all of them get a jury trial. And none of those can go forward or be heard without juries. So when you leave here today, if I can impress nothing else on you, I want to impress for you to think about this. The next time I have somebody in there who's charged with a very serious offense, do you want me to have a jury that cares about what happens, or do you not? And the answer, I think, will be if you don't care what happens, then you probably don't care who the jury is, and I can't fix that. But if you do care, then you should be willing to say, I'm going to sacrifice next time I go of my time, my energy, even myself, to serve on that jury. Whatever jury it is, whatever case it is. And no matter how much I dislike the case or dislike the title of it, or maybe don't like the way the people in the courtroom look, I'm going to force myself to set aside those prejudices and be fair and hear the facts and make a decision based on the case. No matter what it is. Whether the decision is a minimum sentence or a maximum sentence or an acquittal, I'm going to be fair. It'll be hard. Might be one of the hardest things you ever do. But we have to do hard things, ladies and gentlemen, when they're important. And this is critically important. I just can't even tell you how important it is. Once a jury gives a sentence, then I have to impose that sentence that they give. I can't change it. So when I look at an individual in one of my first jury trials and I have to give them their life sentence that the jury has handed down for aggravated sexual assault of a child, when I do that, I need to know I had a jury that was thoughtful and cared and made the right choice so that I can look that young man in the eye and say, and now you're going to prison for the rest of your life. I have to have that. Because he's honored that. He's due that. I have to look him in the eye and tell him where he's going and why he's going there. And the only way we can do that as judges is if we know our juries thoughtfully and carefully make those decisions. Right? Because if it was your son, you'd want that too. Or if you were the child's parents who had been victimized, you would want that for them. It's our obligation and honor and privilege to do it. But we have to do it fairly, with respect and justice and dignity. And I know you guys want that for the people of Hunt County and for your own family and your own community. If you didn't, you wouldn't be Rotarians. You wouldn't believe in service before self. You wouldn't believe in sacrifice. You wouldn't believe in commitment. But I need you to share that with your family and your friends and everyone else you know. And when they all get that jury summons and somebody puts some comment on Facebook about, oh darn, I have jury service tomorrow, you know, you don't have to put it on Facebook, but maybe just call them and say, hey, think about it. If you don't go and you don't care, who's going to serve? Who will it be? Because guys, no matter what you tell them, at the end of that trial, I'm going to be looking at that victim in the face, or their family, or the defendant and his family, and tell them what the outcome is. So I want to thank you guys for being Rotarians. I want to thank you for your commitment above all others. And I want to tell you how privileged I am to join you guys in that. Really, I am. And thank you for the opportunity y'all have given me to be your judge and to make these decisions and have juries. But I'm going to invite you to join me in that decision. It'll be the hardest thing you do, but you will see God glorified in that choice. And I'll be right there with you when you do.
It's okay to do it to me, but I do have to say that your passion is palpable. I can feel it, and I think all of us in here felt that and understood that, and that's why you have a room full of people that stayed over to listen to what you have to say, because it's meaningful and powerful. So I appreciate it, and thank you so much for doing that. One last thing. Tomorrow night is the Christmas party at Bill Ralston's. I would like to invite you, if you want to participate in the gift exchange. We would like for you to bring a $20, $25 unisex gift. Please not a gag gift, as one Rotarian pointed out to me. And also, let me also remind you to bring a gift card for CASA. Y'all, yesterday I took Cornerstone adopted 3 kids from CASA, and I took all of my gifts yesterday, and do you know what? She said, Lori Cope told me that yesterday they received a family of 5 kids under 5. These are all kids that were not adopted because they came in yesterday. So these kids and other kids like it are the reason we're doing the gift cards to help offset what they won't be able to provide from people like us. So please, please make sure to bring a gift card. That's Rotary for today.
This video has been brought to you by Juice 34. Juice is your community-owned provider for electric, internet, cable TV, and true local programming.